when a fan of the Ocelli Effect calls in to the Ocelli Effect.
I just wanted to call in and tell you and Michael Swanson and J.P. Satillian, all of the guests that you have, how much I love your show. Always interesting. It's always informative. I just wanted to tell you in person on the phone, I mean, I love you. I love your show. I love everything you do. I will always be there to support you. You know that.
We appreciate you so much. You have no idea.
Thanks, and most of our fans just send hate mail and death threats.
Ocelli.com.
Second hour of the Ocelli Effect begins now here at Ocelli.com. Of course, we do appreciate you no matter how you're catching this further on down the stream via your fondle slab of choice, your applicable application, etc., your podcatcher du jour. We are happy to be back in the Apple iTunes store after a 6-month fight. And, it's kind of funny because one of the reasons why I was actually kicked off of one of the other networks, recently, that was carrying the show, is live with me tonight, Jordan Maxwell. And Jordan didn't know that, by the way. I just spit that out right now because, honestly, I am encouraged by this. And, we'll have Jordan on as many times as he wants to come on the show. Regardless of who kicks me off, because you know what? The home base is Ocelli.com. This is where you go, and I don't care how many places ban me, change up what it is I do, disagree with what it is I have to say, disagree with my guests, get angry, call me a Satanist. I don't care. I know who I am. I know who you guys are that really listen to and support the show, and I know who Jordan Maxwell is, and I'm glad to have him along. Also, we're going to get deeper into the discussion on Christmas. Give you a few things to consider, including, hey, the Saturnarian holiday. I mentioned that. Doesn't that sound familiar? Wait a minute. That might have something to do with the one of the cults of Saturn that became prominent in the Roman Empire, but this goes even deeper. Jordan, first of all, thanks for making my week last week, because you were on the list of the many things that apparently I had done wrong to get myself kicked out, or kicked off of a network, but I thought it was funny. I'm not dismayed.
You got kicked
I'm
off
not bothered.
a network?
Yeah.
You got kicked off a network?
I sure did.
and the reason why is because of me?
Partially, yes.
Well, I'm telling you, that's no good deed goes unpunished.
Never
Anytime
does.
you want to talk to the world around you about the truth, I've told you over and over in this program, most people do not want to hear the truth. They're not interested to hear truth. They want to hear what they want to hear. They want to wear what they want to wear. They want to eat what they choose to eat. They don't want to eat something they don't want to eat. They don't want to wear clothes they don't like. They want to wear and eat and live the way they want to, not because of what, they don't care what the real truth is. And so most people don't care about the truth. They want to hear what they want to hear. They want to hear that the Lord loves them, and that when grandmother passed away, she went to heaven, and when you pass away, you'll go to heaven. And so my point is that, this is why today, if we go to church, you are referred to as a believer. If you go to a new church, they'll ask you, are you a believer? If you say yes, then that means you're a Christian. Yeah, you're a believer. But I don't want to be a believer. I want to be a knower. I want to actually be able to read and study and use my brain and know and check everything out that you think you believe, because that's the way the U.S. government operates. Governments operate all around the world. Not on what they believe about you. They want to know what they know about you. They don't want to believe it. They want to know where you go when you eat, and where do you go when you buy, and where do you and what team are you on, and what political party do you belong to, and they're checking everything, because they don't want to believe you're okay. They want to damn well know. They want to know positively. So they want to know. They don't want to believe. Well, the same thing with me. I don't care to believe anything. I want to know where the beliefs come from, and who taught them to us, and where did they get these ideas. And now you can understand where we come with all these ideas. And with the founding of America, Christmas was not really allowed in America, in the colonies.
Well, one second before you go there, I want people to remember this. When you take a look at the word belief or believe or believer, remember the one thing that is in absolutely a part of that word. And if you just separate the BE away and you separate the end, you find the word lie. I just want you to know that if you take a look at it very carefully, the word lie is contained in the word belief and believe. Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
So,
Yep.
it's just, it's right there in front of you. And,
Well,
people
and that's
believe, Jordan, that Christmas is one of these sacred ancient things that has been around forever. But it's interesting because you were just saying that in America initially, the founding fathers, those people that we venerate all the time and try to quote and misquote and misunderstand and argue about their intentions. It's kind of funny because they did not want Christmas to be here almost universally, although it was available to them to make it into a holiday, they call it. And I find that really interesting. The founding fathers that they tell us were of the utmost Christian, upstanding Christians and all that, which we could do a whole show on that. Okay.
Yeah.
But
Right.
how about we talk about the founding of America and how Christmas was not part of the package deal to begin with?
No, Christmas was not part of America in the very beginning, the very first days of the colonies of America. Christmas was not celebrated. Why? Because the founding fathers realized where it came from and what it was all about. And so, so you need to understand that the reason why after the colonies became states and we begin to become very successful and beginning to grow into a country, then all of a sudden one day somebody came up with the idea, and it's very interesting who did it. Somebody came up with the idea of let's establish a holiday, and we'll make a lot of money. We're talking about a business. We'll make a lot of money by reestablishing something called Christmas. And so they started reinventing this holiday called Christmas. And now we find out, do you know where Christmas began? Who started Christmas back up, even though it wasn't allowed in the very beginnings of this country, but today it's become a very big celebration? It was Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola company gave us today what we call Christmas. They came up with the idea of Christmas and they sold it to the American people. It's called Coca-Cola Company. Because all of a sudden one day Coca-Cola started promoting the holidays, and they called it Christmas, and they showed how the Coca-Cola, everybody will be drinking Coca-Cola on the holiday. So it was a corporate idea to reestablish the old Saturnalia and call it Christmas. Christ Mass. The Mass, you go to church, you go to Mass dedicated to Christ, so it was called a Christ Mass or Christmas. And Christmas is based on Saturnalia, and the Coca-Cola company knew that because the Saturnalia was always a big party. A big party in Rome was called Saturnalia. Everybody got there and had drunk. Everybody got drunk and eating and drinking and having a great time celebrating the Saturnalia, celebrating the coming of winter and the birth of the sun, going back to the spring. It was a big celebration. And so Coca-Cola promoted the idea and called it Christmas. And so today we still have a big celebration that's really gone into the business world. It's really become commercial. We call it Christmas. But we have Coca-Cola Company to thank for bringing us back into the celebration of Christmas. It was an old Saturnalia, a Roman Empire celebration of the 12 days of winter. The 12 days, Christmas was always 12 days.
That's where your song comes from, first of all, on the first day of Christmas. Okay, everybody always asks, why is there 12 days of Christmas? This is why. Secondly, there's a lot of things about Saturnalia that people don't necessarily know. The Romans at one point didn't even want it, even though it was their holiday.
Yeah.
Why is that, Jordan?
It's because the part of the Saturnalian holiday, Saturn is you can mix up the letters in Saturn, it becomes Satan, Saturn. And so, what was I going to tell you about why we have holidays? Where does that come from, that we have holidays? All over the world, peoples of all countries in the world have holidays. Usually there's 5 of them. Usually there are 5 major holidays in all countries of the world. And the reason why is because the way you look at your watch, as I said, if it's a round watch, you'll see 12 numbers in a round circle. And each one of those numbers represents a month. So there are 12 months of the year in a circle. And so the 12 months of the year, as I told you at the beginning, is draw a round circle and put 360 dots. And the 360 dots are 360 degrees of the sun moving across the sky each day. Each day is a degree, and it moves 1 degree each day southward. And so there are 360 degrees representing 360 days, and that's the way we keep track of business, and government keeps track of business on a 360 degree circle. But in fact, there are 365 days in the year. So what are you going to do with those other 5 days in the year? Because the government keeps track of taxes and money and politics and everything else on 360 days on the circle. Not 365. Well, yeah, but you got 365 days. What are you going to do with the other 5 days? Well, we'll just forget those. Just act like they don't exist. And so the best thing to do is just give people a holiday. Let them celebrate a holiday. Let them take a day off and give them 5 days off a year. And they're called holidays. And so we have 5 holidays, and each country has different holidays. And in America, we have Christian holidays, which is the birth of God's Son, Christmas, and then the Easter is the entering into the northern hemisphere, bringing the sun back. We call it Easter, and it's actually the celebration of the sun coming back to the northern hemisphere. We call it spring. And so we have 5 holidays. Holidays are trying to explain away the 5 days we don't use every year, because we only use 360 days on a 360 degree circle. And so that's where we get the idea of holidays. And of course, then if you have the help of big corporations like Coca-Cola, they'll give you a new holiday. It's called Christmas. And everybody buys tons and tons of Coca-Cola on holidays like Christmas. Never realizing, no, Christmas is a old Saturnalian holiday in the ancient Rome where people got drunk and raped each other and fight, and kings were landowners, the big wealthy landowners would trade places with their slaves. The slaves became the landowners, and the landowners became the slaves. And the slaves could do to the landowners anything they wanted to do, because they were in the position of landowner. And that's the way the holiday worked. So whatever the landowners, when they were the wealthy landowners, they were slaves to their slaves. They had to take the position of a slave, and the slave could do to the landowner whatever he wanted, because that's the law. That was the religion of the Roman Empire, called the Saturnalia. People don't know that. That's basically what we have today. A bunch of drunken parties and people who think that they're important are not important, and the people who are nothing more than just the slaves act like they are in charge of everything. And so we call it Christmas, or Saturnalia, based on the planet Saturn. Saturn is today most important god in all the religions of the world. Judaism, Christianity, even though Christianity's main god is, of course, the sun, God's son, the light of the world. He is our risen Savior. But Saturn plays a very big part in Christianity. But it's very big today in Judaism. Judaism is based on the worship of Saturn. Today, Judaism is referred to as a Saturnalian religion. Judaism is worship of the planet Saturn. And Saturn was called El. In the ancient Phoenician Canaanite system, the word for Saturn was El. And there's another ancient system in the ancient Middle East. Saturn was called El, was one word, one term. And today, of course, we know that El in the Bible is God to the Hebrews. Right. Well, look up the word El, and you will see El was the planet Saturn. And so today the Jews are worshiping the planet Saturn. And their other term that the Phoenician Canaanites used for the planet Saturn was a word they called Saturn Shabbat. Shabbath, Shabbat. Look it up in the dictionary. You will see Shabbat is a Phoenician language word for the planet Saturn. Saturn was called Shabbat. And therefore, if you're going to worship Saturn, it was called the Sabbath. The Sabbath was worshiping Shabbat. So today, when you hear the preachers telling you that remember to keep holy the Sabbath day, remember to keep holy the Sabbath. Sabbath is the worship of the planet Saturn. Go back and do some homework, and you will see that you are worshiping an ancient pagan god called Saturn from the Roman Empire. And therefore today the Jews count their holy days from sundown to sundown. And so they go to Temp El. El is Saturn. And so they go to Temp El, to the house of El, or to the house of Saturn on Saturn's day. This is why all Jews go to the temple on Saturn's day, Saturn day. Mm-hmm. So Judaism is nothing more than the worship of an ancient planet called Saturn. He was referred to as Lord of the Rings. Of course, Saturn was the Lord of the Rings. The ancient Hebrews were told, the old Jewish religion told the men, if they're getting married, you get married before your god Saturn. So you wear a wedding ring. Women were to listen to their god, so they were supposed to wear an ear ring, because the ring represented the planet Saturn, the Lord of the Rings. And the Jews are still making movies in Hollywood today called Lord of the Rings. And most people going to the movies, watching movies like Lord of the Rings, think it's all a wonderful and brilliant, beautiful, wonderful story for the kids. No, it's the story of the Jewish God, Yahweh, Saturn, El. They go to Temp El, go to the house of El on Saturn's day. So it's called the Sabbath. The Sabbath is Shabbat, the worship of the planet Saturn. And even in the Bible it talks about how Israel worshiped the planet Saturn, and the star that was associated with the planet Saturn is called the Star of David. Well, if you go back and look at the Star of David, it will tell you it's a hexagram. The Star of David is a hexagram. You draw a line. What the ancient Babylonians would do is draw a circle on the ground and draw a triangle inside the circle, and then turn it around and draw another triangle the opposite way, and becomes a six-pointed star within a circle. That's today called the Star of Saturn. Look it up in the dictionary. A six-pointed star inside of a circle is a hexagram. It's called the hex. And this is why the Jews wear the hex around their neck. They wear the Star of David. They think it's the Star of David. No, it's not the Star of David. It's the Star of Saturn. Saturn is Shabbat. You worship him on Saturday at the Sabbath. The whole of Judaism today is the worship of Saturn, the planet Saturn, the god Saturn, and also going back, if you take it even further back, it's the worship of the sun. Everywhere in every synagogue on the earth, no matter what country you go to, every synagogue on the earth has on its altar. If you go to a synagogue anywhere in the world, you will see on the altar the name of God, and it's always pictured within a sun. There's always a bright sun circle or the sun with the sun spokes, and then the name for God inside the sun is 4 letters, 4 Hebrew letters. And then the Jews will tell you that the name of their God is so holy and so sacred that we cannot use that word. You're taking it, if you use it at all, you're taking it in vain. You should never take the name of the Lord God in vain. Well, if you even take it, because you're a human, if you even call God by his name, you're taking his name in vain. So they have come up with another word. A word which means they're God, but there's a word that they can use, that you can use too. And so you're not going to offend God if you use it, because it's just another word for the God of the Hebrews. And it's always pictured inside of a sunburst on the altars of any temple. And the 4 letters inside the sun is referred to as tetragrammaton. Mm-hmm. And all Jews will know what a tetragrammaton is. It's the 4 letters that make up the name that was dreamt up for the God of the Hebrews. They don't use his name because it's too holy. But if you want to talk about God, you can use tetragrammaton. It's 4 Hebrew letters inside a circle of the sun. And so the word is tetragrammaton. Tetra is 4. The letter 4 is tetra. Gramma is a letter like A, B, C, D, E, and F. Those are gramma. So tetragramma is 4 letters. Well, that's what it is. There's 4 Hebrew letters inside the sun. Inside the sun. So it's a tetragrammaton. That's tetragrammaton is broken down to tetragrammaton. The Aton was the great sun god of Egypt. The Aton was the sun. So therefore, on all altars around the world in Judaism, you will see a star. You will see the sun with the sunburst with all the spokes around it. That's the crown of thorns. We're told about Jesus died with a crown of thorns. The crown of thorns is the sun rays, the sun spokes around the sun. And this is why Jesus will die with a crown of thorns, like the Statue of Liberty. It's a crown of thorns. It's representing the sun. And so the word for God today in Hebrew is tetragrammaton. Tetra, 4, gramma, letters, aton, sun god. The sun god's name is tetragrammaton. So just understand that if you're a Jew and you're Jewish, you're worshiping the planet, you're worshiping the sun, tetragrammaton, and then more recently you are now also inculcating into that worship the worship of the planet Saturn, Saturnian. El is Saturn in the ancient language, and El is where you go to the Temp El to worship the planet Saturn, the Lord of the Rings. That's why the Jews are still in Hollywood making movies about their God called Lord of the Rings.
You know what's interesting is that when I was a kid, I know I was told that the reason why it's called a holiday is because it's a holy day. But there's a few more aspects to this.
Yeah, like the Hollywood.
Well, yeah, there's that. But another thing about this holiday thing is we don't. Where did the tree come from? Yeah. Because, look, I talked about Santa Claus, and that does relate to a Sumerian god that they used to sacrifice children to. They used to literally stoke this thing, heat it up by dumping wood and coal and things into it, and you would put a sacrifice on it, which would be singed to death. That's a reality.
That was done in Cana, and that was done in what we call the land of Cana, or what we call Israel today. Right.
So there's that aspect, right? There's the astrological. There's all these things, why is the sun being born on that day? Well, it's got to do with the sun rising. We get all that. Where did the tree come from, Jordan? And also, what is the deal with Holy Day? Why is it holy? Well, Hollywood, like you said, there's a hint, but so both of these questions I think are in play. First of all, the reason for why it's called a holiday, and also the tree. Why, is it simply because it's a wooden tree? It's a wooden tree? I'm not sure. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Well, the reason why you have a tree, because the tree was what is called an evergreen tree. The evergreen means it's green always. It's evergreen. It's always green. Even in the middle of winter, it's always green. Right. And so it's called the evergreen. Well, that was a symbol. And the symbol was that with Jesus, life is always, always protected. There will always be life on the earth because God's Son is the light of the world, and He is the one who's giving His life so that you might live. So therefore the tree became the symbol of everlasting life. Why? Because all the trees died during the winter. All trees died. The branches are shedding all their leaves, and it just looked dead, except the evergreen tree. It's all still got all of its green leaves. It's got everything. It's not being affected by the winter. So it became a symbol. That's why mistletoe is a symbol. Because it's a symbol that it stays green. It's just as alive today as it was in the summer and in the spring and in the fall. And today in the middle of winter, the evergreen tree is still green. So it's the promise of life, the life forever. The life will always go on forever. And so when you die, you will go to heaven with the Lord. And you will always be alive. And the evergreen tree is always alive, even in winter. So it became a symbol for everlasting life. The symbol, the term that was used in relation to what Jesus did for everyone. Because Jesus is the Son, and the Son does give everlasting life. As the sun is there, and every year it comes up, and it comes back to the spring, and therefore everlasting life. That's what God's Son, the light of the world, does. It gives you everlasting life. Right. As long as there's a sun coming up, thank God, there will always be life.
Well, because that's true even when it's high in the sky, when it's low in the sky, it doesn't matter. It's always giving life. The trees and things, certain things do go away, but that's another interesting aspect of this is that the sun is a constant. It's not like there's a couple of spots on the earth where it goes away for a little while, but generally speaking, that wasn't known to the people who devised this idea to begin with. So, the idea was that the sun is always coming up. It's always there. Otherwise, we wouldn't be alive anyway. But the evergreen tree kind of goes along with that as well, that there's always the sun.
That's right.
It may be not quite as warm because it's not quite in the right place in the sky to make it good and warm for you, but it's always there. There's always light.
It's always there. That's right. It's always light.
But what about the holiday? This idea of a holiday, like I said, when I was a kid, they told me it was because it means holy day. And I said, well, why is Thanksgiving holy? And at this point, I was usually told to shut up. But, because couldn't give me a religious reason for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was about, this and that and the third thing and lie, a lot of crap, really. Thanksgiving is a made-up thing. Let's be honest, okay? But
it was a made-up thing. But the idea is that you're giving thanks to God that you're still alive and you're still here. So you're thanking God for to have food, to have the sun and have life. So you're thinking about your family, and you thank God you have a family. You thank God you're alive to experience your family.
See, I'm a pagan, and I do that every day. You know?
Yeah, I know. Well, I know, but that's where it comes from.
But what's interesting to me is a holy day, and what is the real reason for that?
Well, what was the name of that singer, that incredibly brilliant, talented singer? What was his name? He made the song "Holly Holy." Remember that song, "Holly Holy"?
Well, you're not thinking of Burl Ives, are you?
No. He was a young man, young Jewish boy, very, very talented, brilliant voice. I loved his song. Everything he did was just great. "Holly Holy" was the name of the song.
Well, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I'm remiss because I usually know his name. I can't remember it right now because my mind is tired. But anyway, the idea that religions have been the same for thousands of years, we're still today believing the same things we believed 10,000 years ago. And King Solomon's temple is actually the Great Pyramid of Giza. That's King Solomon's temple.
Neil Diamond is who you were thinking of, by the way.
Neil Diamond, that's it. Neil Diamond. He made that song, "Holly Holy." And we now know that the holly tree is considered to be holy among the Druids. And today we have the Druid establishment in America is in Hollywood, because the holly of the tree is the Hollywood. And that's why we got Hollywood, because of the Druids. And the Druids, what we call the original Hebrews, the old Hebrews, the Druids called themselves Hebrews. And so the Hebrew religion is actually a Druid religion. And it's all very interesting stuff if you just take the time and go back, and with an open mind. Your mind has to be open, because your mind is like a parachute. Don't work if it's not open. So you need to open your mind and learn how to read and learn how to think, and go back and take some logistic courses in college and university on how to think logically and how to compare thoughts and ideas and belief systems and where they came from. And then you begin to see that the more we change, the more we stay the same. We're still believing the same old stuff for thousands of years. But that's changing now, and Christianity is going to change. It's in the process right now of dying and going into a new world order. Christianity is going to change, and believe me, you're not going to see it in your lifetime. But if you're a child and you're in Christianity today, by the time you reach 90 years old, you will see a tremendous change in the Christian religion. Because no longer, if you go back into history, the idea of a man hanging on a cross, we call Jesus, there was no man on a cross for 600 years. For the first 600 years of Christianity, and any and all churches of Christianity from the 1st century to the 6th century, for 600 years, there was no man on a cross in Christianity, period. That was developed, the idea of putting a man on a cross and representing Christianity, happened in the late 6th century. At the beginning of the 7th century is when the idea of putting a man on the cross. So that is interesting. I think that Christianity, when it was founded, had no man on a cross anywhere. That came 600 years later.
Well, what's interesting about that is that if one does carefully read what happens here when it comes to the crucifixion, Pilate, what does he do? He turns them back over to the Pharisees. He turns them back over, says, you want me to let Barabbas go, or you want me to let him go? Let Barabbas go. We want him to be punished.
Yes.
He says, look, I turn him back over to you
because I don't find any fault in him.
Yeah, to use your laws on him. Now, if we take a look at an understanding of what the laws would have been, seems to me as though he should have been stoned to death, if anything, if he had committed a high crime, according to what I read, which is not crucifixion. And indeed, the Romans didn't use crucifixion in this way during the time period. I mean, but then again, you know, I have an odd reading of history, I understand. But you know what, guys? You can go a lot deeper into this subject and a whole lot others. Religion is just one of the areas. We're talking about Christmas, we're talking about Christianity tonight, but we've covered Islam and Judaism and really the Western world of religions on this series. However, if you want to dig deeper, there is the Research Society, which you can easily get to over at JordanMaxwellShow.com. Now, you have to be a member to go into the Research Society, and you can join for a one-time fee over there to be able to go in and go much deeper into all these topics. Jordan is adding, or I should say Jordan's webmaster is adding tons of material all the time, and there is going to be a lot of updates there because there's a lot of material just waiting to be put onto the website, first of all. Second of all, over at JordanMaxwellShow.com, there's also these videos which you can get on demand. You still have 2 of them up there, right?
That's right.
There's
still
still
have the 2.
Yep, there's still the 2 up there, and these are obviously videos directly from Jordan Maxwell himself, and you can get them for a lot cheaper than you would if you were going to purchase a DVD and have it mailed to you or something, or a Blu-ray, whatever they're on now. I don't know. I wouldn't bother with any of that because you can directly have them by just paying a couple of bucks, and you have it yourself right there at your fingertips. So
yeah, we're streaming the videos, so people can go on my website, JordanMaxwellShow.com, and you will see in the top right-hand corner the 2 videos I have, and just click on them, and you can watch them right then and there. They're being streamed, and for a couple of dollars, you can watch both of them.
Absolutely.
And from what I remember, the 2 of the most important subject matters I deal with is the symbolism of the Illuminati and where this idea of the masters of this world come from, and who are these people, and what are their symbols, and what are they talking about. This is something I started talking about back in 1966. I started talking in lectures many, many years ago. I began talking about the Illuminati. And that I got from Myron Fagan's records, the Illuminati. And if you go on my website and join my website, you will see there's an audio-video area where you could go and listen to some of the old audios and videos. Mm-hmm. And one of those top first audios on my website is called Illuminati. And anyone who's never heard this particular lecture, it's about 2.5 hours long. It's the most startling thing you will ever hear in your life. I heard it back in 1966 and started talking about it in 1967, early 67. I started integrating the idea Illuminati into my lectures. And I heard it in 1966, and so that 1966 recording of the Illuminati I have on my website. And you can go on my website to Jordan Maxwell Show and then join my research society, and then one of the first departments you will see is audio video. Go there, press audio video, and listen to the very first audio track, which is 2.5 hours long, and it's called Illuminati. And if that doesn't blow your mind, nothing's going to. Because I was so impressed with that lecture. My head was spinning when I had heard that back in 66. I could not believe the information in that lecture. It was so startling. Today, it is still just as incredible and startling as it was in 1967, some 40 some odd years ago. It was the most extraordinary thing I've ever heard in my life, and if you want a real eye-opening awakening to the world you live in, go on my Research Society and click on the audio video, and the first one is called Illuminati by Myron Fagan. It's an extraordinary expose on the world you live in and how it really works. You'll never see the world the same again. Once you've heard that lecture and you listen to it 2 or 3 times, you will continue to pick up stuff you didn't hear the first 2.5 hours. The more you hear it, the more you will learn, and the more it will sink into you, and you will begin to see the world the way it really actually exists, and it's going to blow your mind. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, it's the most extraordinary story you've ever heard. And that's why I put it on my website.
And it's amazing that you have an audio there from over 50 years ago. It's 52 years now. Since 1966, and just it could be more depending on what part of 1966 it was in. So over 52 years possibly old that recording is. But there's a lot of stuff over at JordanMaxwellShow.com. Of course, you can make a donation. You can send Jordan an email. He does like to hear from you, and he certainly appreciates anything that goes to the care and feeding of the teacher who is Jordan Maxwell. Now, here's the key to it, though. You have to actually go to JordanMaxwellShow.com because you got to put it all together, one word, JordanMaxwellShow.com, because that is the only website that is actually Jordan Maxwell's. And it is the only website that is run by and handled by Jordan and his webmaster. That's it. Anything else out there is not Jordan Maxwell's website, JordanMaxwellShow.com. Another thing really quickly before we try to wrap up this sort of Christmas episode of the series is you also told me that some stuff is now out on Gaia TV, and I haven't gotten a chance to take a look at it. Do you know exactly? Because I know they did a bit of taping and some work with you. Do you know what subjects they're covering?
Well, first of all, if you go to Gaia, GAIA.com, Gaia, Gaia is Gaia.com. You will see that it's got like 8,000 videos still in video presentations. It's an incredibly brilliant website. It's a massive website of all kinds of lecturers and teachers and all kinds of subjects. And just type in Jordan Maxwell and it will take you to George Norrie, Coast to Coast radio talk show personality, George Norrie. Well, George Norrie does a series. Each month he does a series of lectures where he interviews people from all over the world. And he interviewed me for like an hour. So if you go on Gaia.com and go to Jordan Maxwell, you have to join Gaia. It will cost you a few pennies. It'll cost you a little something. But you join Gaia and then you get thousands and thousands of documentaries on occultism and religion, philosophies, all kinds of interesting stuff to listen to. And then type in my name with George Norrie and Jordan Maxwell, and then it will take you to the interview he did with me. And then there's other things that I've done. There are 2 other videos I've done for Gaia Company, just myself. So it's been an interesting life I have lived, and it has cost me dearly. And I think to myself many times, if I had known what my life was going to be like, I would never, ever have started doing what I was doing back in 1959. Some 60 years ago, I began studying the world of occultism, the world of hidden religious belief systems and governmental systems and how the world really works. Banking systems, governmental, military, law, how the world law works. All of these strange and important subjects today most people have no idea in the world about. But I have always loved researching and studying all the things that are secret I love the idea of secrets. I know the world is run by secrets. Secret societies, secret laws, secret banking, everything is secret for the higher-ups, the guys who run the planet. They have secrets. They're not telling us how the world really works. And I've always been interested in secrets. I want to know how the world really works. Right. Not how you tell me it works. I want to know how it actually works.
Couple of notes about the Gaia TV thing. If you're looking for it on there, it is, I'm going to give you a link to it, along with the podcast and all that. And, I'll try and drop it in the chat room while I'm on air here, but we're almost done. So maybe I'll just link it to the podcast. Beyond Belief is the name of George Norrie's show over there. But there's also a couple of brand new videos up on the Gaia TV thing, called The Secret Life of Symbols with Jordan Maxwell. So these are the videos that are over there at Gaia TV. But again, do you have a link to this at jordanmaxwellshow.com yet?
Say that again. Do I have a link to what?
Yeah. Do you have a link to the Gaia TV? At
no,
your
I
website?
don't. No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
Well, I will make sure to put in the links for Jordan's website, the Research Society, and also for Gaia TV. But primarily start with jordanmaxwellshow.com. But if you're interested in Gaia TV, it is some amazing stuff. They call themselves Conscious Media. And they do have at least these 3 pieces with Jordan that are easily accessible. I guess there's some membership, but whatever it is, you got to sort it out with them. I'm just letting you know what's there.
Yep.
And but I obviously suggest go to jordanmaxwellshow.com first and check out Jordan's work. Like I said, you can email him, make a donation, go into the Research Society, check out the videos, all of that. So with the last couple of minutes here, Jordan, because I made sure to get in all the stuff about the website and this about Gaia TV before we got done, I wanted to ask you what you think your final thoughts should be, because we're not going to hear from you again until, well, gee, wait a minute. We might hear from you on
next year.
So this is the last part of the series that we'll be doing for this year on religion, and we tried to cover Christmas. I know that I'm kind of painful. I interrupt you and things like that. Some people criticize me for it, but
I think that you do very well, and I'm always happy to be able to talk with you.
You and I get along fine, but sometimes the listeners complain. They say, you talk too much. I'm sorry. It's a talk show. I'm a talk host, and you know what? Jordan can use a minute to take a drink or a breath too. Okay? So think about it. Anyhow, Jordan.
Yes, sir.
The last thing that we want to kind of throw at people about Christmas, about religion here for this calendar year, it's all up to you for the next couple of minutes. We've already gone through the website and all that stuff, and we talked about Christmas and the composite holiday that it is. And really there's even more to it. But I want to kind of just give you the last word for this last part of the series for this year.
Well, I would say that all of our holidays, religious holidays, are based on ancient texts, ancient stuff that's been around for thousands of years. And we don't know that. The Jewish people do not know about their beginnings in the lunar cult. Moses was a leader of a moon cult, and therefore the people who followed Moses were not the ancient Israelites. It was a cult that was following the moon worship, and most people don't know that. The Jews do not know that Moses was a moon god. He was leader of a moon cult in the ancient Arabic world, and so the Christians do not realize, I think a lot of them are beginning to realize, that Jesus as a man was actually a symbolic representation of the sun. And the sun was a symbol of brilliance and intellectual and spiritual enlightenment. So when you read in the Bible something that Jesus did or that was done to Jesus, or Jesus said, or what Jesus thought and what Jesus said, always keep in mind is talking about the sun that represents intellectual, spiritual enlightenment. So therefore, whatever Jesus did, that's what somebody who was spiritually enlightened would do. Whatever Jesus said, well, that's what the Son, representing the light of the world, would say. Intellectual, spiritual enlightenment, what happens to it? Well, we know what happens to intellectual, spiritual enlightenment. It gets nailed to a cross and dies and spit on and beaten by the kings of the world. The people of the world will beat you if you're trying to tell them the truth. They will actually call for your death. They will beat you and nail you to a cross. And so if you try and tell people the truth and try and help them to understand, they will turn against you. They will turn you into the authorities. They will turn against you, and a man's enemies will be those of his own household. And Jesus said, you have eyes that do not see, and you listen with your ears, but you do not hear, and with your heart you do not get the sense of it. So just continue to badmouth and persecute people who are trying to educate you and trying to get you to wake up and do your own research and do your own thinking. And those people, just remember, they're going to be tortured. They're going to be nailed to a cross, so to speak. They're going to have to carry their own cross, because Jesus said, what they have done to me, they will do to you. No one listened to me, and no one's listening to you. So do the best you can to try to help your fellow man like Jesus did, and you'll end up nailed to a cross.
You know, it reminds me most directly of Dr. Martin Luther King as well, because he even stated that, listen, I'm probably not going to live through this.
That's right. That's what he said.
And he was right.
He said, like everyone else, I would like to live, but I know my days are coming, because the people don't want to hear what I have to say. And he knew he was going to be assassinated. He knew that.
Oh, yes. And that's the interesting thing, is that a great many people who do stand up and attempt to teach and attempt to make a change and to enlighten you and to bring more light to the world,
that's right,
quite often are attacked, defamed, destroyed by others, as opposed to just being really respected and truthfully heard as the teachers that they are. And there is a great deal of truth in that part of, some people think that when I do a presentation like this, I mean to say that there is no truth contained in the scriptures. Absolutely the opposite is true. There is
absolutely
a whole lot of truth in those scriptures. You just have to know how to read them. And
that's exactly right.
Jordan, I think that's another thing that we need to keep in mind, is that reading the holiday is something that we should do also. Reading all of the holidays, if you will, is something that we should do, and consider what it is we are doing. And again, JordanMaxwellShow.com is Jordan's website. This has been another one in the series about religion with Jordan, and it will continue, by the way, until such time as Jordan decides he's done. And it's just that simple.
I will let you know. There is at least a chance that I'll be available. And if I am, I'll let you know a day or so ahead of time if I'm going to be available for next week, because I'm not sure where my life is going to take me from one week to the next. So if I'm available, I'll let you know.
Well, listen, we'll get to it as we get to it. I'm willing to deal with your schedule, however it goes. Don't worry about it. And but I'm just letting the listener know that this series is not done. Okay, so that's all there is to, because I got a bunch of emails actually. Are you done doing the series with Jordan? I haven't heard about it in a while, and it's like, listen, it was 2 weeks that it didn't happen. It's okay. No, I'm still talking to Jordan. Jordan's okay as far as I know, and he's still coming on. So keep that in mind before you email me again asking me, is the series gone? If Jordan doesn't make it for the next 2 weeks again, that's a possibility, but as far as I know and as far as Jordan knows, we're not done. So this will continue.
We're not done because there's so much more that I need to say, so much more I need to clarify.
Exactly.
But the bottom line I want people to understand is I have no problem believing in God. I have no problem with the idea of a great spiritual presence, something that we would call God, some sort of a spiritual presence of life in the universe. I don't have any problem with that at all. As far as I'm concerned, I know there's a God. I know there's a spiritual dynamic to the human life that we live. So don't say that I am against God. I'm not against God. I'm against the organized religions which have misled the people into believing things that they don't understand. And what I want to do is try and help people to get an education and go back to understanding where theology and religions and the idea of God actually comes from, and get rid of all the darkness. And then you're left with a new understanding. You'll be able to stand under the foundation you're building on to understand. And that's what I want to do. I want to be a teacher. I want to help people to learn where ideas have come from. So that's what I do, and I have to have help by people like you, Chuck. People like you are giving me an opportunity to speak and to share with the world something that's taken me 60 years of my life studying to be able to give to the world off the top of my head. And it's an extraordinary experience being able to talk freely about the subjects that I'm very interested in. I want to thank you for doing that.
Now, listen, you don't have to thank me. I thank you for presenting this information, for giving myself and anybody who dares or cares to listen, the ability to unpack these things and to actually take another look at something that they might have just accepted in the past. And this is always a learning process. Every day that you're alive, every moment, in fact, you have the opportunity to learn something else. So the Ocelli Effect is done for tonight. Jordan Maxwell was my guest, and JordanMaxwellShow.com is his website. I definitely advise you go there, make a donation, join the Research Society, send Jordan an email. As a matter of fact, do all three things. And tell him Chuck Ocelli sent you. So, until tomorrow night, I am merely Ocelli. All of you are the Effect. Have a good night.